Welcome to Livzenastrology, the channel for updates and reflections, where we are grounded in the stars and elevated by consciousness. Thank you for tuning in. Live. Hello, everybody. Hello. Thank you so much for joining into this podcast. My name is Carmelli Watts. I am the host of Livzenastrology Podcast. And I am so grateful that you guys are here joining in this conversation. I am so honored to introduce you to Rae of Light, aka LuminousVox. Rae is a creative divine being who is here to empower and inspire people to connect to their deepest expression of life force energy through sound, words, and visual art. She hosts a unique open mic night twice a month in St. Pete, Florida. And I just wanted to first all say thank you, Rae, for saying yes to this experience and for joining in this conversation. Thank you for being here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me, Carmela. This is wonderful.
Well, you know, you and I, since we first met, we've had just seemed to really connect and have these epic conversations about all kinds of cool stuff. And I just think that you're just an amazing human being with your offerings and who you are. And, you know, we've actually done some work together with astrology. And I've noticed, and, you know, just watching you as an artist and how you express yourself, you seem to interweave astrology into all your choices, into what you do, how you be in this world. And so really, you know, the purpose of this channel, Livzenastrology, is just to introduce people into the concept of astrology and how astrology really can be interwoven in all of our lives and everyday practices. And so you are an artist and, like I said, a divine, unique being. And so I would love to hear your story today, Rae, about how you came to be an artist in this realm and as an empowerment coach, and how you help people with music and sound and your artistic endeavors, and how you interweave astrology into your practice. So if you don't mind, just you know, tell us, how did you come about being Rae of Light?
Wow. Oh my goodness. Well, I'd like to just start off by saying that, well, the name Rae of Light was something that I claimed after it was spoken to me over and over again by people, you know, just saying, well, you're just a ray of light, aren't you? You're just a ray of light, aren't you? You know? So that's how the name came out. I was like, yeah, that's right. I am. So as far as, you know, how did I become like an artist? You know, I just wanted to say, when you were asking that question, that what came up for me is that human beings are artists. Like, that's what we are. You know, we are creative beings. We're all artists. And art isn't just delegated to, you know, creating a piece of music or a painting, you know. It's really the way in which we ritualize and beautify our life. It's like our aesthetic, you know, even the way that we dress, or like whether we put makeup on or not, or the jewelry that we wear, the tone of our voice when we speak, you know, it's all so beautiful. It's all art to me. So I would say that in my world, we're all born artists. So yeah, I was like, do you want me to start at like a little bit of like my childhood, like what? Because it was pretty formative for me, like how I felt as a child, really in touch with the other side, you know, really in touch with the depth of the numinous. You know, I felt as though I could feel the sacredness of life, you know, as a young child. And I spent a lot of time, I feel like, just playing in the angelic realms, you know what I mean? with all this beautiful light energy that was like would swirl around me, you know. And I heard the other day on a podcast, I like listening to Blue. I don't know if you know who that is,
Mhm.
but yeah, she's wonderful. And I love all of her guests, and I love her and the way she speaks. I don't know her personally, but maybe one day. Um, so she had a guest on there that was saying that um, we all start out singing. I think it was her podcast. Anyway, I love her. The podcast I was listening to was one of her friends or her, but the point that I'm trying to make is that they said that babies start singing first before speaking. So they are like, they're like, ah, you know, like they make noises like that. It's a song, and before any words are there. And so we all start out as singers as well. And I think that that's just really potent to get for people, um, that they that their voice and their expressions, you know, what they create in life is meaningful and beautiful, and that they are a born artist and a born singer. um, so it, I guess that's yeah, that's important to me to point to help people see themselves in that way, because so many of it, like, who doesn't love like jamming out to a good song in the shower in their car when nobody's around, and they can just be like, "Blah," no matter how it sounds, it feels good, you know. So yeah, so that's part of the empowerment part. And I would say, to tie it into like astrology, you know, I learned about astrology, started learning about astrology when I was 16. I really, or no, I think I was 14. Anyway, in my teen years, I came across this book called Star Signs: The Secret Codes of the Universe by Linda Goodman, like old school, like OG astrologer lady. And she was just wild and wacky. And anyway, I read that book, and I held that book like, oh, like it had come from the angels to me, because it was like, it came in a really strange way as well, like a synchronistic way to me. And I was like, this is what I've been looking for, like the secret codes of the universe. I knew there were some codes. I just knew that there was somebody had the answers to these secrets, you know. And so
Really
I,
quick, going back to that moment
yeah.
in time and space when you came across that book, what was it about astrology that pinged you, or that you knew was truth for you when you read it? Because you said you've always been connected to the other side. Do you think that that was a connection point to the other side, if you will, or what did you experience with that?
Yeah, definitely. It's like I'm very right brained and I'm very left brained, if you will. Like I'm very balanced. And so I like having the chart, the math, the geometry, the codes, right? Like I can feel it. I feel the truth of it. I feel the numinous, the beauty. You know, that's all that right side, that right brain side, and everything in that feminine creative side. But I like the science of astrology, right? I like having that, to feel like it's bringing it into something solid that I can like look at and like calculate, you know, and satisfy that side of myself. And so it kind of was a bridge to help me do that.
Excellent. Now, how did you get into becoming an empowerment coach, especially helping people find their voice and their full expressions? What motivated you to step into that space?
I fell in love. I'd say I fell in love with my best friend when I was just you know, we were just kids, you know. And the love I felt for this person was just so intense and beautiful and divine. And we would sing together, so I had a friend now to sing with. And and she was a little more shy with her voice. And you know, I was just like, "What?" I'm like always always been like that. And I noticed that so many people struggled with it. And this person that I loved so much, watching them, sort of feel like shy around sharing the full breadth and depth of their voice, motivated me to want to be like, no, like you can do it. Like, because she'd compliment me and sort of be wowed by what I was doing. And I was like, that feels good, but like, I want you to feel what I'm feeling when I do the thing, like it's nice to have an audience that's like, wow, you're amazing. But really what feels good to me is when I see other people feeling the amazement of their own self, like, or like as channel for divine energy coming through, like themselves as the vessel. It's definitely beautiful when we witness others, but when you experience it for yourself, it really is, you're filled up with divine light, when you're in that space to receive and fully let it flow through you. Oof, you're in the zone.
Now I have a question. What is your sun, moon, and ascendant? And because I know that anybody that's listening that's familiar with astrology, they say, well, some people are more shy, and maybe that's also part of the configurations is where your sun, your moon, and your ascendant is. That's something to look at too. So do you mind sharing your sun, moon, ascendant?
Yeah, totally. And I agree with you. And that's actually one of the ways I use to sort of gauge how to interact with people when I'm trying to help them. Is like knowing what their sun, moon, and rising is, and what their predilections might be as far as shyness or openness or so my sun is in Capricorn, and but I like to call myself a Capricornius because I feel a lot of Aquarian energy inside myself, as well as a lot of Capricorn, but I'm definitely close to that cusp on the 17th of January. So then my moon sign is Pisces, and my rising is Taurus.
Okay. So for those that study astrology, Pisces is when you're sitting the moon configuration, Pisces is your mastery, and Pisces is a highly creative sign. It is the artist, it's the singer, it's the poet. And that makes sense. And I'm coming to learn Taurus to bring it to the earth. So that makes total sense. And then Capricorn, I'm going to make a business out of it because why not?
Yeah, exactly. And all the taking care of all the practical parts of things.
Yes.
But that's kind of like my inner self, as the Piscean moon, and as a child, I was just floating around in that nebulous beauty that is, that ocean, that Neptunian Piscean ocean. And I feel like I got filled up with everything I need to then bring it here to earth. And the way that I feel so inspired to do that is really through that Venusian, that way of beauty. And the voice, that's also a Taurian, thing.
Yep.
So yeah.
Can I ask you, has Pisces moon always been an easy configuration for you? Because I know that while it can be very artistic and creative and very otherworldly, everything's got a positive and a negative, right? So do you feel that maybe utilizing your Pisces nature towards artistic has been the higher octave or like the highest expression of it? Because I know sometimes Pisces moon can be also challenging. Have you had any experiences with that? If you're willing to share.
And you're like pulling this out of my brain because that's, one of the things I was thinking before we jumped on was to share about that. And I'm so glad that you're asking this question because it's an incredibly difficult thing, or it was for me to deal with that energy and to learn how to best make use of that energy, because as a Pisces moon, I'm really prone to fantasy, and fantasy can also then be delusion. And you can kind of get lost in thought world and in imagination, in a way that's possibly unhealthy, like obsessive and stuff like that. And then the other negative aspect is like, wanting to escape into an ocean of, bliss, I guess you could say, and sort of cloudy, just whatever. And so one of the struggles for Piscean energy is like addictions, or, substance use, substance abuse. And I struggled with that for so long, like, and that really hindered me in a huge way as to what I could bring forth in this world, and how I could share myself and share my gifts and be the medicine that I'm meant to be on the planet. Because I was just like getting lost in the sauce, like quite literally. I My drug of choice really was alcohol, like drinking like a fish.
Oh my gosh, even the language, right? So funny.
Yeah, it's so funny. So yeah, and really, and that's because part of being in touch with the all that is, and a huge thing with Pisces is the compassion element, or the empathetic element. And that really is that, I'm really in touch with the pain of the world, and I think that the the artistry that, how humanity has been expressing their artistry for a really long time, I think, is like transmuting suffering into beauty. And so it's not that suffering is bad or pain is bad, or, per se, but you have to take it and you have to use it. You have to transmute it into art. You have to express it. You have to get it out. You have to let it move. You have to let it move you to create, to move, to dance it, like, out into your life, and through art and music, and just the way that you show up, the way that you hold somebody that's struggling, the way that you hold yourself. Like, it's so important to not allow the suffering to take you over, and to dim your light. It's like fuel. You have to use it. When you you can flood an engine with too much gasoline and it won't start. It's got all the fuel is there, but it's like you flooded the carburetor, and it can't spark. It's too much. So you got to keep that spark lit and keep using that fuel. So you have to create. And so for me, I have this saying that says self-expression is the cure for everything. And I know it's like a really bold statement, but I love saying it because I feel like it's just so true. Yeah, so that's been quite the journey for me, and I feel like there's something really potent there for me that I was able to stop using substances to escape my feelings, and that I did it for so long. It gives me a lot of hope that I can share that story with people who struggle with substance abuse, and really be the living example that, like, you can really choose something else, and you have so much light inside of you. You have so much to bring to this world that is so needed. Like, you're so needed. And so you don't have to suffer in that. You don't have to stay swirling around in that hell.
How did you get out of it? What was your quickening, or your What shifted you out of that and more towards the artistic expression of Pisces?
First of all, I accepted myself completely as I was while I still was drinking. I was like, you know what? There's nothing wrong with me. I'm responding to stimulus. I'm responding to the environment that I was raised in and the patterns that were instilled in me. What I saw, I just emulated that. Having a parent who struggled with alcohol addiction, and we would drink together, and it was really entrenched in there with mom, with love, with fun, and then also with like someone to befriend when I was feeling bad. Like alcohol was always there for me, and so I had to not make it the enemy. I'm just so not, and no offense to anyone who has been helped by the program of AA, but I'm so into what else is possible for recovery in the language that we're using around recovery. I think that there's some really disempowering language, in my opinion, in that system. And I think that we can do better. But yeah, so self-acceptance, they say that they do say that acceptance in AA, they're like, you have to accept I'm an alcoholic, and it's like, no, that's not what I had to accept. I had to accept that, that I was, that based on the circumstances that had brought me to that point, and those stimulus, almost any human being based on behavioral psychology would have responded in this way, given these exact circumstances, or that it's highly likely. And so that was the first step. And so I didn't quit drinking. I just was like, there's nothing wrong with me. And because a huge part of addiction, and what I think we become most addicted to in our bodies, is the feelings of shame that come. So it's actually a cycle of shame and escaping shame and feeling shame and escaping shame and feeling it and escaping it. And so it's like becomes a trauma bond with shame.
Yeah.
So when you can stop shaming yourself, it goes a really long way. And it was just sort of natural. I did do a lot of things. I started putting myself in, seminars and like doing personal growth stuff, again, getting back to that really, because I was there before, but I started doing more of that. I started working on the mother wound, that's called. I read books on it. I listened to podcasts. I got connected with like a shamanic practitioner healer who took me through some cord cutting and some different energetic practices, and held space for me around the mother wound, did some family constellation work. I was digging in there, but, I didn't force myself. I didn't try to force myself to stop. I let it happen.
So you were doing the work while you were still drinking. Wow. That's such a powerful statement for especially our listeners who are possibly struggling with any form of addiction. And honestly, you've said something today that I've never heard said before, which I find so profound, is that you didn't find anything wrong with it. You just decided to not shame yourself and realize that you are a product of your environment. And what a mind shift to be able to give yourself permission not to blame yourself. How did you know to do that? Is that something just inherent in you to have that awareness?
Well, I mean, it's like anything else. These truths can come to us. I'm a very contemplative person, and these truths can come to us like when we're in contemplation. And, even though I was a heavy drinker and I drank a lot, I wasn't like, I was still a very deep, intelligent, wise, talented, beautiful soul, as most people are who struggle with addiction. So, I had all the self-help books and all the things, and I was into all the stuff, so, but, doing it versus just picking up and escaping, you know what I mean? Actually doing the work was important. So doing contemplative work, these things come to you, these truths will come. And then, you kind of get like, you forget again. And then, you connect with friends who remind you, I had some really good people in my life who I could talk to without shame about what I was experiencing. I'm so hungover today. Like, I don't know why I keep doing this to myself, talking to friends. But I went and took the Landmark Forum, which is a pretty common, well-known like seminar thing that's sort of like has a certain ontological like value there. And it's similar in a way to non-dualism, but I wouldn't say that it is exactly like that. And these are tools. Like non-dualism is like a tool. I don't think it's like a overarching philosophy. It's a tool to find space between you and what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
But that concept of there's nothing wrong with me, gosh, oh man, I would say, I could say all the things that led up to it, and that I could say all those things, but really I would say it's divine grace at the end of the day.
Wow.
I was meant to evolve, and I kept asking, no matter what, no matter where I was in my life, I would always ask, please, please, I know I'm here for something important. Please tell me what I'm here to do. Please just show me how I can be of service. Please help me help. I want to help. Show me how I can help. So I had a constant prayer.
When you're praying, when you're asking, who are you praying to?
That's a good question. That's a loaded question. And to be honest, I don't have a vision in my mind. It's like a feeling place. It's very visceral for me. In my body, I feel the divine as an all wise, all loving presence. And connecting to the heart of the cosmos, I guess you could say. The heart and mind, the heart mind of the cosmos, the center of everything.
And it's funny you say you use these tools, and astrology is definitely a tool.
Yes.
What I found is that it does, especially if you decide to embody, there's hermetic principles that we talk about that say as above, so below, as within, so without. So whatever we perceive that's happening cosmologically, we can reference that it's happening somewhere within us, those same correspondences. And that's what this channel really tries to share, that, there is no separation. Anything that you might be perceiving that's happening outside of you is actually a direct reflection of what's happening inside of you. So what happened inside of you, or during that time that you said, I'm going to quit drinking, and well, first of all, have you stopped drinking? And do you drink occasionally? How does that, what's your relationship now with that spirit?
I don't. Thanks for asking. Yeah. And I love that about your channel, that it's that it's all inside you. And that's so true. Like we live in a holographic universe, and even the tiniest bit contains the whole. And that's, it's a fractal universe. Yeah. And so when you're looking at astrology as like, it's not just like planets and things out there, these are relationships inside of us. Like it's interwoven into us. And so like, yeah, it's always there. And it's just a way of naming it. It's just a way of charting it. It's just a way of mapping the psyche. Um, so yeah, I love that. I don't drink. I don't know if I ever will. I try not to think about it. I'm not ready to think about that. And to be honest, at the end of the day, when I do think about having a drink or something, um, it's just the experience of feeling the sort of heady buzz feeling that you get, um, isn't uh, doesn't really feel that desirable to me. It feels kind of cloudy, and yeah. So what I do when I think about like what I want to do, that I kind of follow it through to the end, like not just the buzz feeling, but sort of when you start to feel kind of dehydrated, and then like and like a little messy, maybe you get a little sloppy, like, and then like the next day you don't feel so good, because for me it's a dopamine thing. So when I drink, I don't just like get sleepy, I get like juiced up, and I don't get like, my tolerance is like forever. I could just drink for days, you know what I mean, as long as I can stay awake. So yeah, so for me, if I had just one or something, maybe that could happen here and there, and then it would probably turn into a lot more. And so that's why I choose to abstain altogether. But I think about it sometimes, it's like it's a whole identity. It's a whole identity, man. Like my like drinking, smoking cigarettes self, like, yeah. Because it was such a like fuck off, like this world, like, and that's the thing. It was a way into a sense of freedom. But really it was a trap. But it felt like, and that's why a lot of people use it to loosen up, because we're stressed, we're tense, you know what I mean? We're like, we're we're folded in on ourselves, and like, we deal with a lot of stimulus, we deal with a lot of stress in the modern world that I don't think our bodies are really made for. And so, we want to feel loose, we just want to feel good. That's really all it is. We want to feel good in our body and feel like we're free to express what's really authentic for us in the moment. And alcohol, because it lowers your inhibitions, and many different drugs, it's like a permission slip to be yourself, to feel good, which that's how we are naturally, in my opinion, bliss beings of bliss, and creative, expressive artists, like people will, oh, I gotta have a drink and then I'll go up on sing karaoke, or let me just get a little buzz on and then I'll go dance, and so what we're really needing is to feel like good in our bodies, loose, and to express ourselves. And so without the crutch, it can be a little scary, a lot scary for a lot of people to express themselves. And so that's kind of where like I come in with people like at the open mic and stuff, to help them feel comfortable and supported to express themselves,
Is this
without
how,
booze.
well, is this how, possibly with, embracing your own sobriety, is this part of the natural evolution of your creative ventures this far? I mean, do you think it's led you up to where you are now as an artist and an entrepreneur, and helping other people as a coach to empower people that they can also learn to express themselves without drugs or alcohol? Is this part of what led you here to this space now?
Well, I would say that it's part of what led me here in myself, where I'm at a place where I can show up with integrity, around like my self-expression, knowing that I'm in full control of the choice that I'm making to express what I'm expressing. Because that's another thing. It's like people go, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. You know, I was up there dancing with my top off at the street. I don't know if that was ever me, maybe, but you know, somebody's story, right? And they're just like, what have I done? So like, and then the respect of the community, you know, people who have seen me in that place of like, you know, there's a lot of judgment when somebody is in, you know, a space of substance abuse. And there's some that are more like accepted in certain circles. Like weed is really accepted in a lot of circles to just be stoned all the time. And you don't have a problem, you know, but if it's alcohol, like that's for sure, you know. So people seeing me in that space and then seeing me without that, you know, and recognizing like, oh, this flamboyance that I have, this power and this energy is still there. And it wasn't just the alcohol, you know, and it wasn't just that. I am a fiery expressive, you know, and that's like permission, full permission in integrity, because I'm making this choice to express myself, you know, authentically. There's no substances, there's no crutches. It's me. And I'm here and I'm doing this and I'm clear-headed and I'm present with you. And I think so having that respect of my community and being seen, you know, it has opened up doors for me to allow me to express myself more and to share my gifts, you know, and has allowed me inside myself to feel like good about that and like, oh, this is the path. I'm on the path. And it really took like, there's no way I would have been able to like feel good about, you know, going down this path in a professional way if I had stayed being, you know, drunk all the time, being drunk all the time, you know, like, no, I couldn't evolve towards my dharma like that way. I mean, maybe, and what I did already, you know, I was always like this, 18 in the bar, you know, telling people like they can do anything that they want. Like people would tell me their problems, you know, it's a huge thing. I'm like the counselor person to go to, and I would pump them up. I'd meet people on the street as I'm walking around years later. Oh my gosh, Rae, like so many people know my name, and they'd be like, you changed my life. You sat me down. You told me this thing once. I wouldn't remember what the heck I had said to them, you know, because maybe I was like kind of lit at the time, but that's just who I am, you know.
Yeah.
Lit or not, I'm that person who wants to light others up, or who wants to share my fire, you know, and empower people to express themselves. So it's definitely, you know, been a huge part of the journey, and I can see it weaving in more. I don't know if I'll focus specifically on, you know, helping people with substance abuse, but it's an interesting thing to ponder. And I know that so many people, even if they don't have like a huge problem, so many people struggle with some kind of addiction and some kind of escaping through a substance, escaping their feelings, or using the substance in order to feel like they can be creative, etc. So it's definitely really tightly linked. The whole addiction / creation thing, or substances and creativity, you know, it's like it's kind of a messy little knot. And the Artist Way book addresses that, which is an amazing book by Julia Cameron. Thanks for asking that question. It's a good thing for me to ponder on, because maybe I could really be a special voice for that.
Yeah. You know, and it's interesting too, just as an astrologer, I listen for language when people speak on things, and I love how you spoke on, you know, part of the addiction code is people just want to feel good in their bodies. And I find it interesting that your rising or ascendant, which in astrology is what we've come to learn, is in Taurus, which is all about the body. So now that you've taken alcohol out of the picture, what do you do to feel good in your body?
Yeah, to feel pleasure. And that it's it's my favorite thing. So I like to ritualize my nourishment, I like warm drinks. I like making them. I like choosing like a specific color mug that like I want to embody. That I love yellow. I'm big on yellow and lello. Mhm. And yeah, so ritualizing things. So you can think of it as like the tea ceremony kind of vibe, right? Like,
Mhm.
okay, this is like a really ancient practice, and I'm not any kind of expert on. I've never led a tea ceremony, but I just know that it's like a big deal, and it's an ancient big deal, and that like presence with the simplicity, like the simple treasures of being alive, um, and experiencing life as a human being, human body through the senses, and and really understanding that the senses and your sensory experience is your divine experience, and that there isn't a separation between the body and the spirit. Like you were saying, there's no separation, and that we are here as expressions of the divine in a body to experience the body, and to experience what that is like experiencing a life through this vehicle, through this lens, through these senses. And so I obviously love music. I love making music. I love singing. I do a lot of toning and chanting, especially in the shower under the running water. Water's magical. Water's healing. And when you add your voice to that water, woof, like it's like it's this beautiful symbiosis that's happening between you and the water. There's water inside you, and then there's that water outside, and they're the same water, and you start just vibrating this water with your voice and your tones. It's kind of I don't have the science for it, but I know there's science to explain it, but you can feel it, and it's something that I've just always done. Singing in water, singing near water, singing with water, singing to the water. And so in the shower I'll do a lot of toning, and not only just toning, but I'll let any weird stuff come out of me. So I'll be like, whatever I want to do, right? This is for real what's happening in my showers. Not every time, but and then whatever I'm weaving into all these different worlds, and this is moving energy in my body. And another thing that I'll do is I'll shake while I'm in there. So I'm using my voice, I'm using my body, and the water, and it's all one movement. And this moves, I mean, it'll clear any emotional charge or anything that you have going on. And not only that, but pain in my back, tension. So that's a practice that I do pretty regularly. And just spending time in nature, like looking, really taking it in, the abundance. I don't know what else to say. The abundance of life, just blossoming everywhere, just all the little creatures and all that green and all the different textures, and like that's art. I was walking on one of my favorite paths the other day and looking at all the like little pieces of broken leaves that were just all along the path, and all those different colors, and I was just like, and then like the textures of the ferns. I'm just like, this is art, and we are abundant. Like, wow.
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 What a perspective. And you're such a gift. And I love that you see art and the artistic expression and how we're connected to everything as a gift. And I know you also, so you live in Florida and you're actually hosting an open mic night in St. Pete's on certain nights. Is this part of the journey of what you help people do, is to share the wisdom? Because I feel like I sense a lot of wisdom and depth in your soul and your essence and just how you carry yourself. Is this part of what you teach and help people do with the open mic and even with your business? Is this part of your journey, how to help people unlock that within them?
Yeah, exactly. Like, yes, unlock that. I love how you said that. Because there's this power in us that, that we keep under wraps. Like, we keep it locked up, beneath, limiting beliefs, and in little boxes of what's possible for us to express. And I just feel like, I just feel like we all deserve to experience our own life force flowing through us unencumbered, and there's wisdom to channeling it and to having, I was thinking of like, there's these wheels, these water wheels where they cut lumber, and there's like little separations in the, the flow of the water that's turning the blade. Because if you want to shut the blade off, or you need to slow it down or whatever, you're able to like divert that water. And like, so you have self-control about your emotional expression. So you're not, flipping out in some like maniacal rage, or, hurting anybody or hurting yourself. So like, that's important, but you don't want to suppress, and I feel like people are so suppressed in their expression. And I am one of those people, like we're all like, sort of conditioned this way. And so, when people come to my open mic, first of all, I like to not be perfect. I like to show myself with all the flaws, and like my singing, I don't try to make sure everything's perfect. I'm much more about raw expression. And I applaud each person. I, encourage the crowd to applaud each performer. And I always, I pay attention to what they've shared, and I always reflect back to them how it impacted me. So that they know that their impact matters, because we're all making an impact all the time. Like, we're always making an impact. And when you feel disempowered or separated from your power, you often don't realize your impact, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
You're not aware of your impact because you feel powerless.
Yeah.
And so I want to live in a world where people feel empowered, because we are all divine beings. And so if we can allow our divinity to flow out into the world unencumbered and not suppressed, then the world will quickly turn to a more beautiful experience, for all of us, quickly. Like, we have everything we need inside of us. And so I'm like getting emotional. I just want to help. I just want to help in any way that I can to unlock that for people. So we can get on with like this heaven on earth thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's do it. I hope that answered your question. I'm like feeling
Oh
very
no, it's
confident.
beautiful. It's beautiful. This has actually been such an epic episode and conversation. And I'm so grateful you said yes and really sharing your authentic voice on this, because I know that some of these topics can be challenging, especially for people that are maybe still struggling with addiction. And I will say my takeaway from this, and it's almost like a balm, even for me, is just to not feel shame that there is nothing wrong. It's just if anybody is dealing, anybody listening to this that probably has those repetitive thoughts, then it get into those negative cycles of feeling guilty or shame, to know that there's nothing wrong with you.
There's really nothing wrong with you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a behavior, and you can modify it. You can shift it. And you don't have to be anchored into it forever and ever, claiming I am this forever. You don't have to do that.
That's right. You really don't. And if you are there, like, for me, force doesn't work. Forcing myself never worked. I think self-expression and self-acceptance work the most. And you don't have to be perfect to start doing the work. Like what you were saying, when you asked me that, you were like, so you were doing the work and you were still drinking. And I was like, yeah. And that really stood out to me, because it made me, think like maybe there's people who are like, okay, I'm going to get it all together. I'm just going to stop drinking. And then I'm going to start doing this and this and this. And it's like, just start doing those things. Just start doing the yoga and the journaling and make some art, and go to like a woman's circle or a men's circle, or go connect to life. And, you don't have to like be perfect and stop your habit or whatever it is, your limiting behavior, first, in order to start adding these good things into your life.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to feel deprived, and especially as a Taurus rising, like, I can say that, like, you don't need to deprive yourself, just add more good stuff, just add the good stuff in. And as you add the good stuff in, and that starts helping you feel good in your body and feel better in your body, then the old stuff sort of, and the stuff that doesn't make you feel as good and is not very beneficial for your life, really does start to loosen its grip on your life. And I do want to touch on that, when you start to shift any pattern, and that it's not easy, that you feel a lot because you've been suppressing so much. There's a lot of emotions that can come to the surface. And my number one piece of advice is that you need to be with it. Like, you have to be with it. Be with it. Really honor that disgust, the shame, the anger, the fear, the sadness. Like, really be with it. And if it feels overwhelming, you can just lay there and let it take you over and cry. Or if it starts to feel like just way too much, you can jam out on a keyboard, or just play on a drum, or you can beat a wall or a table, or like, and you can move the energy that into something creative, like music. You could get out some markers and just, like, or create something beautiful. It doesn't have to be as erratic, but like, you can move that energy. And the other thing is to reach out to a friend, call somebody, reach out on Facebook, like, share your struggle. There's no shame in struggling. We all struggle. None of us here are perfect. None of us here have all the answers, or even half the answers, like, we're all just playing. And so I hope that you find that place of play inside of you, and that you're able to forgive yourself, if you struggle with shame, no matter what, whether it's substance abuse or not. Toxic shame is really a difficult thing to deal with. And you deserve to love yourself just as you are, like, right now.
Yeah. You don't have to wait for a certain behavior or a thing, or right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
Right now. Yeah.
And astrologically, it actually supports that energy, because we have Venus and we have Mars in Leo, which is
Oh.
the creative life force sign, right?
Yes,
It's all about
yes.
creativity, and Mars being our masculine planet, with our action, and Venus being feminine, which is the receptive. It's like they're supporting each other because they're both in this frequency of creativity and bravery, because it takes a certain amount of bravery to step into these spaces that maybe you've never been into before, and be able to, sing and shout and create and call it art. I mean, what a gift. This is
And Leo's the child too, right? Like the eternal child of the sun, like that's that energy, become like a child. And we're all born already expressive and artistic, and the world sort of beats you down, but that's not your fault.
Yeah.
The conditions that you came into aren't your fault, and so like reclaim that essence. It's there and it's wanting so much for your attention, that inner child.
Yeah.
So what a perfect time.
Yeah.
Make some art. I wanted to mention about the Plutonian aspect of things, that Pluto is squaring my sun and my Mercury, and how that power, the because that's what I work. I'm all about the power, empowerment, power, and having to have gone through these death cycles, and these underworld journeys in order to like reach in and grab that and claim my power, that I'm not bad for being so expressive and so big and so shiny, that there's nothing wrong with that, and that it's okay to express and to beam, to shine, to vocalize loud, to be big, like, and to be seen. And so I think about that a lot when it comes to astrology. I was just trying to like, how else can I make this about astrology real quick? We talked about a lot, but like, do you feel like it was on point with that?
Well, and right now we definitely, we have Saturn in Pisces right now, which Saturn's our structure. So I can definitely see where, we're maybe being guided by the Piscean flow to bring some structure to our art, to our creativity. Yeah. And so how can people find you? How can people, where is this open mic held in Florida? Give us a little more information.
Yeah, the open mic is in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is an amazing city. And it's called Soul Shine Open Mic with LuminousVox. Soul Shine Open Mic. And I like to say that we're the most inclusive open mic in the Tampa Bay area, meaning that it doesn't matter if you are a seasoned professional or you've never gotten up behind a microphone before. Like, it doesn't matter. We encourage everybody to just shine a part of their soul, and to be seen and to witness the sharing of others, and the beauty and magic that happens there when there's a real supportive container for everybody's self-expression, no matter what it looks like. That's what we do. So yeah, it's held every first and third Tuesday of the month. So first Tuesday and third Tuesday of every month. This coming Tuesday on the 20th, I won't be here because I'm going to the Galapagos Islands for a yoga retreat. I know. Wow. I'm like so stoked. Yeah, so I won't be here, but I'll be here for the first Tuesday of the month in July, whatever day that is. So I definitely encourage you to come out if you're in the area. Come join us, make some magic. We share poetry, we share stories sometimes, we share music, different instruments. I've got my guitar there. I can play for you if you just want to make something up, in the moment. We do a lot of that. We collaborate. Sometimes people will be playing like a drum or a shaker or a tambourine in the audience while you're up there, adding to your song. And it's just a real vibe. It's a real beautiful, safe, like inviting and supportive container. And everybody that shows up there really creates that magic with me. Like I'm hosting it. I'm like an anchor point for what happens there. But what happens there is really everybody that comes and shows up and shares themselves is creating that support and that beautiful little petri dish of goodness. I love it.
Well, gosh, Rae, I thank you so much for taking your time. And I would like to invite you back into the podcast at a future date. First of all, I want to hear about your journey in your yoga retreat to the Galapagos Islands. I mean, I feel like you do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah,
But I feel like you just bring so much value and your wisdom and who you are as a being. And I'm just so grateful, beyond grateful that you said yes and that you're sharing your story and your light. And thank you for who you be in this world. We need more beings like you to be showing your authentic self and to show that there's all kinds of life situations that we have all gone through, that we could use this type of support through our creativity, through our voices, and through having the courage to express ourselves. So thank you for saying yes and expressing yourself in a genuine and authentic way.
Of course. And I appreciate you so much. And I really love what you're doing in the world. I'm really proud of you for your consistency in sharing your videos with us and like sharing your knowledge about astrology. I love watching your lives. So excited that you started this podcast, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. I can't wait to be on like whatever number episode way down the way when I've got my whole like YouTube channel set up and people can actually find me, and like I'll see you like with so many more people, having touched so many more people's lives, and we'll get to connect and be like, remember when you just started, and it'll be a blast. It'll be amazing to see the growth. So thank you so much, Carmela, for doing everything you do. And you guys should
how can people find you really quickly? How can they find you right now on social media?
Yeah, so I'm like, you know, an old lady. No, but I'm still on the face, but you know, everybody's moved to Instagram. Like Instagram is the thing. And I just haven't made the leap yet, but so I am on Facebook. And so you can find my page, at Rae of Light, I believe, Rae of Light. And that's a page where I share like uplifting content and empowering content. I also have a poetry group called Deep Magic, the Power of Poetry. And so that's a Facebook group you definitely want to join if you're interested in reading some amazing poems. I share poems there. I encourage other people to share their poetry, and sometimes we just share poems from other poets that we find inspiring. So that's Deep Magic, the Power of Poetry. And then you can follow my music page on Facebook at LuminousVox. So yeah, I hope you give me a like, and yeah, I'll have more. I'm working on it. This yoga retreat, I'm hoping is going to be like a big like opening in myself, and like this feeling to be like, okay, now I need to come back home. I'm going to take these steps to like create this infrastructure, Saturn, for my Piscean nature to be able to like flow out to more people in the world.
And of course, you're honoring, you're learning about Taurus, right? Which is all about the body. So taking a yoga retreat is perfect because it gets you into your body. So
exactly,
you're following your path. You're doing your due. And we'll have all this information in the description box below with all the ways you can find Rae of Light. Thank you again, everybody, for joining. Thank you for tuning in to this channel for this content. Please check out Livzenastrology for more. We're on all the social media platforms. And again, thank you for taking your time and sharing your energy. This has been an amazing conversation. And I know it's going to help a lot of people who are going to be listening and tuning in to help them to express themselves. It's time to express. It's Leo season. It's Venus and Mars and Leo with Gemini sun. It's time to communicate, share ourselves. And this is the best time to do it. There's no better time than the present. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Love you guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll be seeing you soon. Okay. Thanks for joining in.